In this video, I'm going to be texturing some of the assets in the dungeon scene. So the ones that have wood and metal or just metal alone are here, with the exception of the torches, and I've gone through and I've unwrapped them also. For example, if we come and look at what I'm calling the gate here, I've got something called gate metal on there as an individual material, and I went in and I painstakingly unwrapped all of that to the point that I would want it to be. If we have a look at the box has two materials. It's got box metal and box wood, and I kept them as a separate object here because it's going to be easier for me to paint on this with Substance Painter, and I'll show you that. Alright, but I did go in here and I've unwrapped and I've packed the islands. Alright, in fact I can pack that probably a little bit better than that. There we go. And the barrel, I have joined the pieces, but I have unwrapped it. It's all ready to go. Same thing with the shelf, and same thing with the walkway, although that was a little bit bigger of a project, and maybe we'll talk about that next time. So what I thought I would do was I'll texture maybe the barrel and the box, and we'll see. The gate is just the metal, and we'll see about that. So I'll just if I just focus on the barrel itself. We'll get started. So it's all unwrapped and ready to go, and there's no secret really to the unwrapping. I just put seams where I think they're going to be necessary, and I test it out. I see how much I like the UV map. Alright, and that's just something that takes time to develop. Alright, so I'm going to export that now, and there it is right there. Actually, I'll overwrite that and I'll export that. I'll come into Substance Painter and I'll go File, New. I'll switch this to OpenGL for Blender, and we'll select, and where is it? Dungeon barrel, there it is, and hit OK. So there is my barrel, and you can see it's come in with its two materials, barrel metal and barrel wood. First thing I need to do is to bake the mesh maps, so I'm going to choose 2K, uncheck ID. I don't really need to do anything else, and I'll just bake those mesh maps. It shouldn't take too long, but while it's going, I get a preview of this and I can see what my textile density looks like based on the size of the squares. Alright, so that's ready to go, and the first thing we're going to work on, I think I'm going to show you actually the metal. So I'm on barrel metal, I deleted that. Now I'm going to come into Smart Materials and I'm going to type in Dungeon. And I have this one called Metal Dungeon. This is a smart material that I made. I'm going to bring that and just drop that in. There's nothing special to it. I'll open it up. Instead of making it, because I've made metal in a couple of other videos, basically all I did is I started with this base material. In fact, I'll hide all these other ones. This base metal. And what I did is I just created a fill. I made it sort of a mid-gray color. I dropped the roughness down a little bit up the metallic. And then on this, I put a filter, the matte finish rough filter, and I've done that many times before. And that was my base metal. And then I added some dirt, just the usual way that I would add dirt. I did some metal edges, which may or may not show up very much on this particular model. And then of course you can go in, even though it's a smart material, and I'll be using it on a few different models. You can adjust this. You might see a small change there. Alright, and I've got a little bit of rust on there and a little bit of scratches, and that is the metal right there. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use as metal, and I've got it as a smart material. Once I made it, I saved it as a smart material, and all you do to do that is you create all your layers, you put it in a folder, and then once it's in a folder you right click and create a smart material. So now I can use that across all my assets that have metal, and then I can tweak it a little bit. So for example, the scratches didn't show up very much there. I could fix that if I wanted to, but I don't really feel like I need to. So I've got some metal on my barrel. Now for the barrel wood, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come to Smart Materials and type wood, and find this wood chest stylized. Now this comes with Substance Painter, so I'm going to drag that in. And that's not a bad starting point at all, because it's got some grain to it, it's got some dirt, and a few other things. Of course, you can open it up and you can see all the things that are in there. One thing that I don't like, however, is the fact that the grain is going, around in a circle instead of up and down. And so you can search through and try to figure out which one of these is causing that, or a combination of them. And I happen to know it's these fibers here, so I'm going to come in to the properties of those fibers. And I'm going to rotate these 180 degrees. And now they're facing upwards. And I don't think the dirt or anything else is really going to have a bad impact. So that's a good starting point. We'll put down the lines to create the planks, and then we'll do some color variations and a little bit of other stuff. And so that will make it look a little bit less generic, because everybody's got this wood anyhow. But you can, of course, come in here and make changes as well to that. The reason I have these as two materials, you can select areas of your model in Substance Painter, is it makes it easier for me to just focus on just that one material. And I'm going to be coming over here to the 3D and 2D view so that I have the UVs, and this is what I'm going to be working on to create the lines to make them as planks. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to add a paint layer, just a regular paint layer. I'm going to scroll down and alt-click color, and then click on height, so I have just color and height. Drop the color down to about a black, and the height I'm going to drag all the way down. Alright, so I can now paint, and I can get some indentations. If I paint here, you can see that it cuts in. In alphas, I'm going to search for square. Just SQ is good enough. Grab the square, and we're pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to decrease the size of my square. And I think I'm going to come over here and probably let's just try 1 and see what that's like. So I'm going to hold down Shift and Control, click and drag, and that will let me do a straight line. I've got a line through. Let's look on the model now and see if we can find where that is and how we like it. I think that's not bad. I wouldn't mind it actually a little bit bigger than that, 1.2. And click and drag. Let's do a couple of these. I'm just clicking and dragging, and then we'll have a look. And the idea is not to have them all the same size. I may go a little closer on some of these. Click and drag, and just don't worry about it. Just have fun making these lines. So Control and, what am I pressing? Control and Shift to do this. And it's a lot easier to do it, right through the UVs. Like that. And then I get it on the top and on the bottom as well, and it looks pretty convincing as planks. Alright, so we have our lines, or planks, I'll call them lines. Alright, the next thing I'd like to do is give this a little bit more variety, a little bit more variation. So I'm going to create, let's see, I'll do another paint layer. I'm going to alt-click on color only, and click on here and use the eyedropper and just select a color here. I can slide this along if I want to. So I have a color variation. I still want the square, and I'm just going to increase the size of the square, and I'm going to try to paint over some of these little areas here, some of these planks. Something like that. Let's do maybe this one. Okay. That's pretty good. And then what I will do is, I'm not going to leave it like that. I might choose something like overlay and reduce this, just to get some color variation in there. Yeah. Let's start with that. And I could try some of these other blend modes like hard light. Overlay looks pretty similar. Let's get another color now, and maybe a little darker. And let's try a little bit more of this. Okay, that one's pretty similar. Let's try something even more different. And that may not be the best blending mode to use. So yeah, experiment a little bit. Okay. I'm going to try a different blending mode in a moment. Alright, let's just have a look at different blending modes. There. Let's see if I can figure out where that is. Take my eraser and just erase some of that. So I just switch to the eraser. There we go. Okay. Now sometimes you'll end up getting it on the top, so I'm going to come over here, and I'm just with my eraser. I'm just going to increase the size, and I'm just going to go over the top like that. Okay. We're going to put some dirt on it, so we're not really going to see it very much. So we have this so far. All right. Let's add some dirt right now, and let's just call this color variation. We'll add dirt and then maybe something else. So I'm going to create a fill layer, color and roughness, bring the roughness up, and color, let's make it dark, black mask. We'll try just a dirt generator and we'll see how we like it. If it's there, it's just throwing dirt generically all over it and up in the top, and that is just fine for the kind of look that I'm going for. I don't even really need to change very much. I'm going to call that dirt. Let's see, do I need to have a roughness variation on the wood? It might be nice to do that. I'm going to create a fill layer, and I'm going to use just roughness. Let's drop it down so it's quite, you can see it's affecting the whole barrel. I'm not going to have it that rough, but you can see now it's quite shiny because I dropped the roughness. Let's add a black mask and a fill to that. Let's just call this roughness variation. And in the fill, in the grayscale, I'm going to add a grunge texture. Scroll down here and find something that you think it's going to kind of have some distinct spot areas to it. So maybe I could try that just to. Now it may not be extremely visible, but what I'll do is I'll come back here and I'll toggle it on and off. So it's off. Try another area, and we'll try a different grunge area now. Okay, that's not too convincing, I don't think. So let's go. I'll find one. Okay, well there you can definitely see it, right? If I come back here. Right here. Alright, so that looks more like mold spots, and so that's not exactly what I want. And so I will just keep searching. I don't want the fingerprints ones. I'll use that one, and then what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'll bring it up so it's not as extreme. And you know, the light that's in the scene will interact with that a little bit and might give you a bit of an interesting effect. Makes the barrel maybe look a little bit wet or something. Alright, so that's roughness variation. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is I actually have to decide if I want lines on the top. Let me just backtrack in case you decided that you wanted lines on the top, and I'm not sure that I do. I would come back to my lines layer and make sure I'm on the brush, and I would go back to a dark color and height, drop the height all the way down, and I believe I use the square, and I use something like 1.2. Normally I would do this at the time I do all of them, but the way I've got the UV set up, I can actually just click and drag across the top and the bottom, just like this. And I can have those lines on the top and on the bottom. And then the last thing I was thinking I would do maybe on here, I'm going to go back to the 3D view, is maybe add one more layer. Let's do a fill layer with just color. Might use a little bit of height, I'm not sure. I'm going to add a black mask and a fill, and in here with just grunge, and find something that's not too busy. And then of course you can change the scale as well, and then you can change the blending modes, or you can just drop this way down, just like a little bit of powdery something on there. That's not necessarily the one I would want to use. I see I've got some, let's see if I can find where that is and what I've done. I think it's on this, yeah, it's on the color variation. And let's take the eraser. Let's see if I can get rid of that. I don't mind a little bit of those dents actually. You know, and then so I was just thinking, I'll just call this grunge. On this layer, that did I want to put height, and maybe even boost it up a little bit. Let's say we do the box. Maybe I'll just do those two. So let's just focus on the box itself. It should already be unwrapped. Okay, so with those two and the materials already, I'm going to export those. I'll just call it box. And over to Substance Painter, new, OpenGL, and box. Okay, there it is. We've got our two materials there, so we'll bake the mesh maps at 2K on check ID. We're ready to go. We're going to look at the metal first. I'll delete that, and I'm going to come over to my Smart Materials and type in Dungeon, and we're going to use this same metal on here. It's already ready to go. It's got some dirt and everything. So there's the metal. Now, I can adjust the scratches. I can actually up the resolution here to 2K, and you may start seeing some scratches coming through, and that's fine. That's what I'm going to want. I want a little bit of scratches, but I can play with this on here and make changes to it if I don't like the way they are, and I'm not crazy about them. Let's just bring up the balance for the moment so you can see some more. Okay, so those are scratches. I'm not going to go like that. Just like that. I just want little stuff like that in there. So I'm reusing the Smart Material, so I'm going to have sort of a consistent metal look, although you can obviously make changes. But I won't bother to do a lot of that right here on camera. I might do a little bit later. Alright, so let's go over to the wood, however. And again, in Smart Materials, I'm going to search for wood, and I'm going to use that same wood. I'm going to pull that in, and I notice that my grain is facing different directions. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to come down to the fibers, and I'm going to try planar projection. I don't want them horizontal, however, and so I will try changing this to 180. And they are pointing up and down, which is great, and I'm not too worried about the top. It's just pointing that way, and that's fine. Alright, and so here I can do a similar thing. So I'm going to snap to orthographic, and I'm going to focus just on the wood, and I can do this here, or I can do this in the UVs. Alright, I'm going to add some lines. I think I'll do it on top here, so I'll create a paint layer just like before with color and height. Make this dark, drop this down, and last time I used a square alpha with a size of 1.2. We could try that on the box and see how it looks. So this is where it's covered, so I'm just going to come out a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about it, and I'm just going to drop a few. So maybe we end up with 3. Then I can turn this back on and just see how it would look. I think that's okay. So I'm going to come back to here and just focus on that. And I think I'm just going to go with this. Pretty much going for 3. And I'm just going to turn it. And I'll vary it a little bit. That one's a little further out. That one's a little bit more even. That's fine. I'm just snapping into position. And then I'll decide if I need another little piece. So that's basically done. I'm going to snap it to the top. And at least by snapping it, I shouldn't be getting any on, on another side. So there's that. And let's see if I can find the bottom here. Okay, where's the bottom? Okay, I guess it's that way. Yeah, it looks a little wide there, so we'll see. Perspective view, F to frame it. It's probably going to be fine. We're not going to be focusing on this box or anything, but that's basically what we get. And if I want to, I could come back in and say, you know what, I'm going to add another one here. No, it's not going to show there. I'm going to add another one here. I may have gone back a little bit too far. I'm going to add another one. Maybe I am adding a couple more. Like that. Yeah, let's snap. Okay. Are we in orthographic? There. Good. Oh, we got a little extra one here. Let's go to the eraser. Get rid of that. Go back to the brush. I'll do that there. Oh, let's go back to the eraser. Get rid of that. Alright, that looks okay. Maybe I'll put another one here. Yeah, you get the idea anyhow. I'm going to go back to perspective. And then we can do the same thing with the color variation. Alright, so I've got my lines. I'm going to add a paint layer, and just on color, let's hide that. And let's see what the UVs look like, in case we wanted to draw. I think I would actually rather just do it, in this case, in the 3D view. So I will go to orthographic, and I'll come in here, and make sure I got a square brush, and we'll sample something. Just move around a little bit. Increase the size and just start going in here like that. Okay, do one on this one too, and then we'll try a blend mode, and we'll see what looks okay. That's okay. Do it on the top. That's all right. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. Let's try another color here. Yeah, just like that. Okay. Holding down Shift and Control to constrain. Let's see where we're at here. Let's try screen. Although I'll probably, let's see, overlay was the darker one, and then I did that. Let's bring the metal back. Don't want it on to 0. And then you can do, a couple of them. Let's try one more. Too much. Maybe I'll go over this one again. If I blend them and they get a little bit darker. Alright, I think you're getting the idea of that. Right, and then just back to, deciding how much. And let's do, okay, if I look in here, I don't have any dirt, so let's just put some dirt here. We could do it on top with a fill, color and roughness, and a dark color. And we'll try a black mask with a generator and just a dirt generator. That'll throw that in, and that's helping with the overall effects. So that's my dirt. We can do, what else do we want to do? Some of that grunge on there. Alright, so just a fill layer. I'm just going to use color, I think this time, just a light color with a black mask and a fill. And the grayscale, we'll find a grunge. We'll just search for something and just try a bunch. That's the fun part. Well, that looks actually okay there. Alright, you can change the balance. I just want to have some stuff on there. And you could do a roughness variation as well, just like we did. I won't bother right now. So there's my basic box, and just don't forget that I can go up to 2K on these, and the textures will look better. It should look a little bit better. That's the wood. Not that I necessarily would need, the metal's already there. And I might decide to change that grunge. Let's see, have a look here. Just to try different things. Yeah, I want to look at the leaks. Okay, it's not it. Another thing you can do is, I'll get rid of that, is you can come over to these smart masks, and you can see if there's any leaks, dirt dry leak. Let's try that. Okay, that's interesting. You can come into them and adjust these parameters as well. I might leave it like that. And sometimes what I do like to do as well, actually, is to do scratches on the wood. So I'm just going to grab the scratches from here. I'll just copy that layer. I'm going to come back to the wood here, and just on top, this is grunge. And I may keep that, or I may change it. I'm just going to paste that on there, and I might change the color to like black or something. And you can see some scratches in here, and then I can adjust this layer. I just want to make them more prominent so we see them. Okay, so there we have scratches on the wood as well, and which often looks good actually in the whitish color, but I'm going to leave them in black. So there's my box, unless you decide to do something like, the toxic kind of, that kind of thing, which looks cool too. But I'm going to leave that as that. All right, and then to view it in Substance Painter, I'll also often turn on anti-aliasing, and I might even use a color profile. I mean, I know I'm going to go back into Blender, but just to make it look nicer, you can do that, and then you can change the HDRI, and maybe you'll find something that you think looks really cool just for taking a screenshot of it, and you'll have your box. Okay, so we've got two of our resources. We'll do a little bit more. I'm going to adjust this as well in the next video, and we'll just keep going with texturing these resources for the dungeon scene. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.